select number of boards that does video meeting. Good evening. Call this meeting of Lake Boon Commission to order on Wednesday, September 13, 2017. Quorum, with all three members of the commission being present. We always open with a public comment item on the agenda. If there's anyone that has a question, comment they would like to address to the commission, specifically not something that we are going to be on the agenda tonight, but something that we couldn't deliberate about or take action on, but we might take note, or if it's a simple question, we might have an answer for you. Laura?
Laura Diamond, 76 North Shore Drive, Stow. I'm hoping that David Gray could maybe put out an announcement reminding people that starting on the 15th through, I think it's May 15th of next year, that people are advised to wear, it's a law that people should wear life jackets, just out of protection for safety. We know that the water is a little warmer right now because of the weather, but certainly it's going to be hypothermia weather soon. And that would be a good idea, just to remind people by public notice.
Okay. Yes, but that refers specifically to people in kayaks and canoes, not powerboats.
Okay, well, whatever, yeah, to put that notice out, because a lot of times I see people paddling, especially this time of year, without a life jacket on.
And just to be fair about it, that it will also, some people will pick it up on the TV broadcast, but a reminder that, as we'll point out later in a report that we have, the environmental police do spot checks on the lake unannounced, and that's one of the things they would be watching for. That could be either a written warning or a citation, depending on what they think is appropriate. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. And, yes.
If I could just add to that if Rodney...
Can you identify yourself for the camera?
Excuse me, I'm Elsie Rodney, Pine Point Road.
Thank you.
I think we should add paddle boards, stand-up paddle boards to that, and so I think we have to be pretty specific, and also to make sure people know they need to have a life jacket with them at all times, whether they're wearing it or not. I don't care how hot it is. So I think that's the state law. I'm not sure, but well, we're sending out a notice if we could make it a little more.
It is the law. They're required to have a life jacket on the boat, paddle boards.
And the kayaks, and irregardless.
Well, everybody is,
Yeah.
but
I'm not sure everybody knows that. I certainly watched them all go by my house without anything, and it wouldn't hurt to stick that.
Right. Well, that's something we can.
are they coming off the beach?
Pardon me?
Are they coming off the beach that way? The Stow Public Beach?
I have no idea
They
where they're
don't
coming
rent
from. They
paddle
just
I know.
wander up and
I'm just
down
curious
without anything.
how they're getting on the lake.
Because they
A lot
don't
of people
know,
have
I
it.
think.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Several, Cindy has one, and several
Yeah.
people have them. Okay, good reminders, and we can pass that along to Dave Gray. Is always very cooperative in helping us get the word out. Yes, Laura, one more?
With that notice, can we also remind people, especially now that it's still warm and people are still water skiing, that the sun sets earlier, and there is no water skiing after sunset right now? Or, that's the new state law, I think, right? State law? Yeah.
Remind me, is it sunset? or
Sunset.
half hour? Yeah.
No,
Sunset.
The state law
But
is
if there's-
sunset.
if they're water
For
skiing.
water skiing.
Yeah.
It's
But
a
how
half hour
about-
after sunset for 15, for no
Yes,
wake.
yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Connie?
It's a half hour after sunset for no wake. It's sunset for no water skiing.
Because the general rule is we can be more restrictive than the state, but not less. So there is no state speed limit after sunset, but we have one. So that's one of the few remaining things that stayed in place. But sunset does get a lot earlier. It's like 4, 7 o'clock now, isn't it? I think so. Anyway, thank you.
Whenever in the boat I check, but since I
Yeah.
was in the boat, I didn't check
Yeah.
tonight. The last time we skied, it was 7:10.
Okay, then we will proceed with items. There are copies of our agenda there. If you didn't see one, there's a couple of extra copies
I
around.
brought an extra one too.
Meeting minutes. Lisa was good enough to send along minutes for her last 2 meetings. So May 25 and June 26 was a short meeting. So we all have copies of those. Have you had a chance to review them?
What date did you just say?
May 25 and June 26.
Okay, I forgot to print those two, but that's
Yeah.
okay. I'm sure they're fine. I've got July 26th and
Yeah, and then that's
thank you.
the current.
So I'll be abstaining from this because I was
Well,
not,
interesting question came up on this very question last night, and we will have that on the second set of these minutes tonight. Because at that set of minutes, I wasn't here and Teresa and John Ray were. We had a situation on the Board of Selectmen last night where we have four members present. 2 of us weren't at one of the meetings that we were approving, at which we were approving minutes. And there was a ruling of the chair and concurrence by town administrator that that does not necessarily, a current member can approve the minutes in a ministerial action, even though it was not part of the decision-making process. Otherwise, you could have minutes which could never be approved in certain circumstances.
I mean, if you didn't have a quorum at the meeting.
A quorum
Well,
or
we
if
wouldn't have a
the-
meeting with a
or if
quorum.
the members had changed. Anyway,
Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
be, so that's fine, you can abstain on this one, but on the other one, I will need to vote anyway. Somebody will.
Okay.
If we're gonna approve
Yeah.
the second one. But,
So which one are we talking about
May
first?
25 first. Any comments?
There should have been more than one page. Oh, two-sided printing, sneaky.
She's green.
I don't have a two-sided printer.
Anything else?
No, it's okay, I don't see anything wrong with it. I'm sorry, I had to read it in detail.
Okay. May I have a motion then?
Motion to accept the minutes as submitted for May 25th.
Second. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And
Abstain.
1 abstention. Did Linda indicate to you that she doesn't need the minutes after each meeting, that as long as they're filed, I think she said at the end of each year or something, as long as they are logged and kept in a file?
Well, she did say that she needs a whole file, but since they can go online, my preference is to
Yeah.
provide them when
The
We're done with
Stow-
them.
The Stow website is going to be vastly upgraded very soon. I think
Yeah.
it's the end of this week, or will be a lot more capabilities
Yeah.
and things to do that way, so. But we do still have to keep a paper copy somewhere
Right.
forever.
Yes, yep.
Okay, minutes of the meeting of June 26. This was a meeting held at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm surprised.
And it shows you as attending.
Yes, I was, which one was I talking about then?
So were you not at, oh, you were absent on this one? So
Yes.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
was,
so the 25th, May 25th one, you were absent.
yes. That's the one I needed to vote on, yeah. This meeting was, I think I'd like to suggest just a slight addition to the language.
This is the June 26th one?
Yeah, yes, because that was the one where the sole item was discussion of licensing,
Mhm.
requesting the selectmen to license
Mhm.
rentals by the rec commission.
Yep.
And that subject matter is not, it references the letter which we had requested us to do that, take that action. But anybody picking up this set of minutes by itself would not know what this referred to. So it's not substantive. I would just like to suggest that approve the request of the Recreation Commission for licensure of boat rentals as requested.
Oh, she said as referenced by letter. Okay.
But that, it's, so if somebody looks at this, it's self-explanatory what that letter was.
And would it be useful to attach to this minutes the actual letter that we sent to the Board of Selectmen?
Yes.
I just happen to have a copy of it.
Okay. All right, all right. All right, well, that would take care of it then.
And why don't we just have, let's add that to the minutes.
Okay, then we don't need an amendment,
Okay, so we're not amending?
no.
Do we need to,
But we need,
just reference the attached?
no, it'll, okay, as attached. If you just write the words on this one. Even if it's just handwritten on it,
Yeah.
that's fine. Okay, so I have a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes, including the attachment
As amended.
as amended,
June 26,
2017.
2017. So I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention. Okay. Then you have,
Yes. So then we have two more sets. So July 17,
let's go over that one first.
Did you sort out those numbers? He didn't, as the other one goes with that. I'll figure him out if he didn't. Okay.
Detailed.
So we're looking at
July 17.
July 17. I actually read these ahead of time.
Yeah.
I'm good with this one.
Motion.
Motion to accept the minutes of the July 17 meeting of the Lakeville Commission
As submitted.
as submitted by Chris, right?
second.
That's made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Mhm, aye.
Aye.
Okay, those are approved. And lastly,
And lastly is
July
July
26th.
26th.
we have yours.
Yeah, those I had. I didn't, I printed those.
We'll be addressing this first item on that, but this reflects what we did that night. Just we
Correct,
need to
which is,
correct the
we'll talk
action
about when we
tonight.
talk about
Yeah.
the Solitude bill,
Right.
which is gonna, yeah. Don't put this away, because we're gonna need this.
Right, okay. Motion to,
Motion to accept the meeting minutes of the July 26th meeting
as submitted.
as submitted.
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, that gets us caught up to date, I believe. That's good. Thank you. All right, next item, payment of bills. And included on this is a vote, which I'm according to our town accountant.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that, though.
Well, okay, but let me tell the folks what we're talking about. To rescind the earlier approval for an incorrect Solitude bill and to reauthorize it so it can get paid.
The bill was correct, first of all. The payment was incorrect. And according to our minutes here on this 26th, and Andy, if you don't mind verifying what I'm saying, we submitted payment numbers that were correct. And don't ask me why, but both towns chose to pay the entire number rather than their share. Which was why Hudson just said, oh, our mistake, and they paid the right number. And we gave them back the check. So I don't see how we can rescind anything when what we voted on was correct.
So specifically, which one was the issue with?
Go ahead, I want you to do this because...
Okay.
We only had one Solitude bill at that meeting, right?
Which, on July 6th, there were 2 bills.
Just for the record, Andy is the Solitude representative. I
So-
mean,
This was July
Liaison.
26th we're talking about.
July 26th meeting.
Well, on the July 6th meeting, these 2 bills were a motion to approve, and Don will submit the bills for payment. That's what it
Yeah.
said.
So what I don't...
That's the first 2 bills.
So the one that was paid incorrectly is in that stack I gave you.
Yep. Okay.
So those were paid, that one. That's correct.
You, let's see. Yeah, you were here.
Yeah, I mean, I went out and put it under the door. And we left that night, the town accountant's door.
Those are
So the one that was paid wrong,
those are the first 2 bills, and those are the right amounts.
Yeah.
That represents 50% and then 25%.
and the Stow...
As it says in the minutes.
Chris has the one that we did the 2/3, 1/3.
This one.
on that
This
copy.
one? No, this is the other one.
So my
Okay.
point is, I believe that
That's
we
this one.
did it right.
The
That's
July,
that
For some
one.
reason, both
Yes.
towns...
Okay.
the
paid
July
wrong
one
number,
was not part of that meeting.
Which was why Hudson was so fast to say, oh, we'll fix it. Because they realized that they made the mistake, we didn't. And I'm pretty sure the same thing happened in Stow.
But that's this bill.
I don't have the check that was returned anymore because I gave it to the town already. So either way, right now, the town is, the very last Solitude bill, Andy, those are all, that's how Hudson does it. Just, we may have one of those.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, there's a couple things that are not, that weren't right on this. This says 5/1, that's really the 7/1 bill.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So the way Hudson does it is I have to fill out a form.
Right.
And I submit exactly what I want paid out of exactly what
Right.
account. Stow doesn't do that. So,
So who wrote the 2194 on there?
I wrote the 2194 on, no, I don't know where that came from. Oh, that was me taking notes on the phone with Ann.
Because that was the total amount of the bill.
Right. And 7/24.
Yeah.
But the document that we gave you copies of that night showed this,
Right,
the division.
and so Stow's share was that, and that's what Stow should have paid. Unfortunately, I don't have the checks anymore. I gave them back to both towns. So Solitude called me when they got the overpayment and asked me what to do. I said, send the checks back, and they did. And then we gave the checks back to the 2 treasurers.
So this one is correct.
That is correct, as we authorized. And right now, we owe Solitude, as far as I know,
2194.
well, no, Hudson's already paid their share. What we owe him is $1470.43 out of Stow.
And this was a 37-cent difference or something,
Yeah,
right?
so that was my notation. on it.
67 cents.
67 cents, we also, we
Yeah.
That was from
identified.
the previous one,
Right.
actually.
Yeah, so,
This is the invoice number,
So,
98.
this is just my notation
Yeah.
here, so this is indicating that the way that it seems that the town is doing it is taking the total, dividing by 3, so then 1/3 is going to
Yeah.
Hudson and the other 2/3.
It's gonna be a penny off all the
Which is gonna
time.
be a bit, well, it's more than a penny, but
Yeah.
anyway, it's
Yeah.
different, so I don't know if we should just change, going forward, we should change the way we do it so it syncs up with the way that they do it. But that was just my notation, trying to figure out the discrepancy
Yeah.
between
Okay.
what they paid, because if you look at the ledger that, kind of, you gave us a ledger that came, I think, from Solitude.
Those,
This-
those numbers.
Did you gave us
Yes.
that? Yeah, so the numbers that got paid at various times, they differ a little bit because clearly the town isn't paying it exactly.
why don't they pay what we tell them to pay?
I don't know.
Hudson,
Anyway.
Hudson pays what I tell him to, except for that
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah.
So Stowe is doing something different after we give him the bill?
They seem to be doing calculation of 1/3, 2/3 differently.
Okay, well, I can take it back to them, to the accountant, and say, here it is, the same thing,
So,
and that's what you need to pay.
so for tonight, you know, to make Julie happy, and that ledger tells me, I see the ledger a second. The trouble is I gave everything away and I didn't have my documents anymore. Yeah, this- Okay, from my memory, right now, Stowe owes that number,
Mhm.
1470.43. And we've already approved that, but we can reapprove it. We can approve it again, or we can just make a request again.
No, we don't need to do that.
Yeah, see, because on July 26th,
I can show them the minutes
yeah,
now, the minutes are
Right.
approved
Yep.
as to what we did, and
Yep.
this is the
yeah,
division that we did at the table
Yep.
after the meeting that reflected what we did.
yep. So we're good. We don't need.
Well,
So I don't want to lose these, because that's my copy of
your copy of
things.
this,
All this is my copies.
okay, so I need a
So you
copy
can
of the
make-
copy
Yes.
before we go tonight,
That's fine.
so I can make
I
it.
just don't want them to disappear, otherwise then I don't have what I need to
That's
keep
right.
track of
Okay.
what Linda wants.
Andy, do you want to keep this Solitude
So-
stuff for your records
So our
since you're managing
resolution
that?
on this particular one is
Or do you want me to
we-
keep them? I don't
we-
care either way.
We
we
need,
allocate it correctly.
yeah, we just noted, the minutes should note that we did calculate it correctly. And it will be resubmitted for the correct amount. But Hudson has been paid its amount,
Yep.
and we'll resubmit it to pay the two-thirds balance. Okay.
Now, I talked to Ann in Solitude in Springfield, who is where their local office is, and I told her that Stowe was being delayed. So that's why we haven't got any nasty notes from them.
Yep. Okay.
So we good?
I hope so.
If we're not good, let me know. I'll talk to you.
I'll find out next time I go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
There will be another Solitude bill, right, Andy? We're not, we
Yeah,
have,
10%,
When, we don't have that one yet.
No.
1,400. It is like something like November 1st. I actually have it open, hold on.
That's the final
It is
10,
November 1st.
final 10% of the,
So that'll be about $1,400.
that's the final payment for this year.
Yep.
This fiscal year.
Yep.
and someone else can calculate 1/3, 2/3 on that one.
Yes.
In case I screwed up last time.
Well, yeah, I don't.
Okay. Just on the weed situation, they have not been called back. Is that correct? For any further treatment?
Correct. They have not been on the
So in
lake.
other words, last year's treatment must have really done
Oh, yeah.
the trick, because the initial treatment this year was,
The lake was amazing in the spring,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
And one of the other questions that we've had from the previous minutes here was, you know, we're only authorized to treat non-native weeds, so we can't treat the native ones like the eelgrass.
Right.
and only on their presence, not on preemptive action.
Say again,
There's
please.
no preemptive action.
Right.
They have to be there.
Okay. But that doesn't explain why after a long period of time with nothing there, they are all of a sudden
The
spreading.
eelgrass?
Yeah.
I don't know, not a biologist.
Okay, so we done with that bill?
Yes.
All right, so the other bill that we have is from the materials for the kiosk. So that's, so that was, one, just the map had to be laminated because it was too big for Carolyn's machine, and then the clear plastic sheeting.
So,
Total was $57.78 for the two.
but where's the 20?
It was,
Oh, you- oh, that's-
it's only
Okay.
$2.86 from Staples.
Give me the number again. 50.
The total, $57.78.
And that gets paid out of our regular budget.
Regular budget?
Yeah, the other confusion
And-
comes because of the warrant appropriations.
Correct. Weed money is from warrant articles.
Yeah.
Everything else
Yeah.
is budget money.
And then they divide it at the end of the year. And they figure out the 2/3, 1/3.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so,
Which, by the way, hasn't happened. Getting kind of late.
for what?
Unless Julie's billed Hudson directly, I
They
have
must
not
have. They
seen,
must have.
I have not seen a bill.
I think that's just a paper transaction.
Okay, good.
Anyway, we're dealing now with fiscal 18 money. So we.
What are the dates on
need-
this? 8/4/17, that's good.
Yep.
Yep, this is all 18
Yeah.
money.
So I can, somebody
Now,
make a motion to.
One second,
Okay.
they're not gonna pay this. So something you should know, Chris, is we're tax exempt,
Mhm.
and the towns will not reimburse any sales tax money.
Just eat it, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm just,
I'd
That's what's-
have to
if we-
show up with a,
I know, I should have told you ahead of
Yeah.
time.
You still have the.
I have the tax
certificate?
exempt, yeah, I have the certificates.
yeah,
I have the Stow one
just-
and the Hudson one.
yeah. So maybe we should each have a copy of that?
I can,
Yeah.
yeah, I can get you copies. I don't have copies with me, but I have copies at home. I don't think I have copies here. No, I don't.
Right.
So
Make-
the
make a note
total
to-
will be different then,
Get them to us before.
so
Next
less, so
But-
it's the 57.78 less the sales tax.
What I'll do is I'll scan them and mail them.
Okay.
But I learned the same way. I submitted some bills and both towns said, no sales tax money.
Yeah.
Thank you. I paid for those too.
So do we want to subtract the amount before we vote?
Why don't we just do it and say less the sales tax and I'll subtract it, get it right?
You want to just vote this?
Yeah. Less the sales tax. So in other words, I move to pay these bills less the sales tax.
Okay, then you can.
I'll put it in.
All right. You want, so you want to move that on ice?
I'm sorry, what's the question? I was
Just
looking-
move this amount, to authorize
Okay,
this amount less the sales tax.
I'd like to
be
move that
adjusted.
we reimburse Chris for the materials for the kiosk in the amount of $57.78 less the sales tax,
So it'll be adjusted.
which is sales tax adjustment, which is 30 plus 10 is 40, which is $3.40.
All right, let's just do it that way then. 5438. Is that right?
Yep, 54.38. I got the same number.
All right, so I'll take that as.
I like it when we get the same number.
Amended motion, I'll second it. Any discussion? If not, aye.
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 Okay, and we sign this and that gets submitted.
Now, Chris, have you given them your number, your name? You gotta fill out a W-9.
No, I don't think so.
She won't pay it till she gets it.
Then
So have to stop in and get acquainted.
did we have to do that when we paid last year for the printing of materials? for the notice? I don't think Carolyn had to do with W-9.
Well,
It depends on the volume.
may try it without it.
Try it.
You just might still get the
For a small,
request.
for a small amount, you know,
Yeah.
because it's W-9, so I have to issue unless it's $600 or something.
Since this is going to me, should I not sign it?
No, you need
You
to
sign it, yep,
sign
sign it,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
Any other bills?
Nope.
Nothing, we haven't had any boat
Nope.
expenses or?
No,
Okay.
I replaced the light in the patrol boat, but I did that. I just did it from, no, on the bow light went out in the police boat. I just put a new one on it.
In the police boat or the commission boat?
Police boat.
Is that boat been
That boat
operated
is-
at all lately?
That boat is inoperable. It's been,
Used
you
by
can't
the
even
police a
get.
lot.
Huh?
It's been used by the police a lot.
No,
Not
I'm
lately.
talking about the police boat.
Oh, the police boat.
Police boat's covered in pine
Yes,
pitch.
yes, they've been using that.
So they've been using the commission boat because the police boat, you can't even get near it without getting pine pitch all over you.
Could you repeat that, Conway? You can't what?
There's pine pitch all over the police patrol boat because it's underneath the pine trees and the pine trees,
Why is that different this year than another
A
year?
tree fell.
I don't know the answer. Oh, a tree fell too, didn't it? The tree fell on it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably where the pitch came from.
Yeah, a tree fell on it and ruined the top. So the top was gone. When the top's gone, the pitch got in the cockpit.
Okay. The next one, I put the agenda on, begin discussion of rules revision. And I'm not doing this to inflame anybody, and it's kind of consistent with what we had said back, what it was now, early part of the voting season, now we're at the end of the voting season, that we didn't want to address this in any way, shape, or form during the voting season. What I'd like to do is ask each of us, if you need a clean copy of them, I've got them, is to go back and for either the next meeting or the one after that, each of us come back with, prepared to go through each of the rules, the non-voting rules, take those first, and decide, do they make sense? Is there something that needs to be updated? Sometimes it's just codifying what is actual practice. For instance, I don't see in this copy, which is from the website, it's the most recent one I have, we have the discrepancy about the names on the dock versus the numbers. That's something that needs to get addressed. I'm not suggesting that we start identifying those items tonight. But just go through them from rule number 1, about profane, threatening, abusive language, blah, blah, blah.
So you had asked me last time to bring back the,
Yep.
kind of the process.
The
So
flow
it sounds
chart.
like what you're saying is, for the next meeting, we should at least come back prepared to talk about each of the non-voting bylaws.
Yeah, let's talk about that first.
Okay.
Okay. But again, consistent with what we had said earlier, we're not gonna, I would like the commission to have a chance to put together a draft of things that we think are good housekeeping changes. Plus, if there are substantive ones, we can debate whether we want to suggest them as a draft, and then hold a public, well-notified, informational meeting to get the residents' reaction to those and/or other things that we may not have thought of. And there are two different processes that the general bylaws are much easier to deal with than the voting regulations. We could do either. We could do both, or neither. But some of the things I think we do need to clarify. For instance, in the voting rule section, it very clearly states one person on a device behind the vote. By practice, we've been looking the other way.
We would do it too.
It's saying there's two, we are allowing two. Well, if that makes sense and it's not a safety issue, then that rule should be amended to say two, not one,
Yep.
and have somebody,
Agreed?
if there were an accident and there could be a course of some action, why did you allow two if it only says one, that sort of thing. So, I would imagine or suggest a timetable maybe like early January. Give us time to come back and have a working session with some of these, and then put together a draft document of what it would look like with those changes.
So we did this once before, do you remember? Keith did it? And presented it to us, but it never went anywhere.
Okay.
I don't know if I still got a copy of that or not.
Well,
Keith?
Keith Miles.
Keith Miles, way back when.
Wayback Machine.
Yeah. But at this point, I'd say that even if he did,
No, it's
he's not,
Not
he's
relevant.
not with us, and we should be doing it. We're the ones that would either want to advocate for changes or
Mhm.
explain why they should not be changed. Some of them, although the language is stilted, goes back to 1941. But I don't think just for the sake of, I can be convinced otherwise. If you want to clean up, put it in. If you're gonna go through the process anyway, does it make sense to put it in more readable language, some of these? My favorite, of course, is rule number 3. No person shall bathe in the waters of Lake Boon except in a costume proper for bathing purposes, and either at a place designated therefor, or with the consent of the owner or person in possession of the land immediately adjoining such place.
You gotta keep that.
You want to keep that one?
Oh, yeah. That's, it makes it unique.
But I mean, but technically,
There's nothing wrong with it technically.
well, not just the clothing part, but if it gets into where you can swim, you have to have permission, and what about jumping off a boat out in the middle of the lake? You know, it's just, I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of these things. But I think we owe it to ourselves, to our constituents, to say we've made a good effort at this. Some of them, if there are some controversial ones that we decide, once we get input, we don't want to do anything with, or we vote on it, and the majority wants to do something, that, that's the way the democratic process is supposed to work.
What's kind of missing in your flow chart, Chris?
Yep.
At some point, the town councils are probably going to have to review whatever we do.
Oh, yeah, this is just to come up with a
So this is
proposal.
to proposal, okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's just a process to go through each one, so they, kind of ask the questions. Does
Yeah,
it
well,
need to be, should it,
where
whatever.
where the rubber would hit the road on that one is if we come up with a revised, even if you're only changing 4 commas and a "the,"
Yeah.
it has to go to town meeting in both towns.
Yep.
So town council has to review articles to make sure that they are in proper form. That's when that review,
And I believe it also has to go to the environmental police,
not
somebody.
only the boating.
Only, you're right.
Power boating.
That's right. So if we don't do power
distinction.
boating, we don't have to go through them anymore.
If we did Rule 3, for instance, and we wanted to
Gotcha.
change, they don't have anything to say about it. There are very possibly other subjects which should be thought of, which be part of the rules, so we may get into a discussion a little bit later. So think along those lines as well, not just as you're reviewing these, what should be stricken or modern language put in, but what would you suggest we should talk about as new rules? Not power boating, and/or power boating, because we may decide to do the more arduous process if there's something where we can be more restricted than the state, that for public safety reasons, we might want to tackle that elephant and go after it. So this is our September meeting. How about if we come back? We probably won't have a meeting again for 5, 6 weeks. So let's shoot for no later than the meeting in November, if we have, that gives us time to think about these, or we can't talk about them among ourselves substantively.
So I want clarification when you say these. At one point you said the non-voting, so that's rules 1 through 12.
Right.
Is that what you're saying for the next meeting, we have thought
I'd say
through and
we-
have ideas about both?
I'd do both.
So you're saying the whole
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
Okay, I'm
Because-
just asking for
because
clarification.
we aren't doing the enforcing, but there could be some additional rules that we may consult with Sergeant Saleese. And he would say it would be better if the rule reflected, for instance, the 75-foot rule.
I'm not arguing,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, for the next meeting, are
I
you
would like to-
talking about the
Entirety.
whole thing?
Yeah.
In its
Entirety.
entirety, okay.
But we'll break it into 2 separate discussions, because one of them is easier to handle than the other.
Well, they're both gonna be,
So let me say it
Lengthy
differently. What we're
discussions.
really looking at, this is the current rules.
Yeah.
What should our rules really look
Yeah.
like moving forward?
Either deletions, additions, corrections, whatever.
I'm just gonna suggest that I doubt we're gonna get, well, we can individually come up with our input by then. I don't think in one meeting we're going to be able to discuss
No,
all of those.
no, because
So,
there will be
okay.
questions that we will raise
Okay.
that will require talking to the police, or talking to town council, or town administrator, or
And we probably will want to have a public meeting on it anyway.
Yeah, at some point,
That's
yeah.
what I said,
We wanna come up
maybe
with a-
January,
Right.
Yeah.
before we get, because you work backwards. If we want to do this, go to town meeting, so then you're up against the warrant article deadlines.
Which is when?
Yours, Hudson's is early, much earlier deadline for warrant articles.
Yeah, I don't know the date right offhand.
You could find out.
About when? Is it early spring? Is it-
January.
I think it's,
Sometime in
I think
January.
it's January, you gotta have the warrant, the
Okay.
language.
I will get a note from the town manager soon saying this is when I want warrant articles. When I get Hudson one, I will forward it to you. But I'm almost certain it's January.
If that's the case, and if there's, in either amendment process, we're gonna have to go to town meeting.
Yeah, but it's also, if I say this correctly, I think that we need to look at this and we need to go through this, but I also think it's not urgent. If it took 2 years, it takes 2 years. If it takes 1 year, it takes 1 year. It's just something we need to get done, because we're running pretty successfully with what we have. We just need to clean it up.
Well,
So,
I don't wanna have this be
so,
a retirement
no, project, you
job
don't.
project either.
But,
So-
yeah, I mean,
Let's aim for like the 3rd week in October. And that
Okay.
way, if we decide we want to do something, we might be able to hold a
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
accommodate that, rather than let it go
we
back.
can hold a hearing on the 25th.
No, we're not going to be ready for a hearing of December?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we're good one. Okay. All right, so that's our target, end of October, come back for review of these, please.
Now, I won't promise this, but I have a good file on rules history too. I've got the original rules, and I got the amended rules, et cetera.
Okay.
And-
Anything that will enlighten
Yeah.
our discussion is
Yeah, see if I
helpful.
can't put something together.
Okay. And that's the sort of thing you can share with us, as long as you don't comment about what it
understand.
is. If you just give us copies of it, that would be ahead of time, that would be helpful.
I'll do that electronically, not paper-wise. I'll scan it, and send it out.
Okay.
The public information form,
Mm-hmm.
could I get a copy of that too?
You certainly can.
Oh.
It's really historical records of the commission, absolutely.
That's all public records.
Yep.
Whether we can find it all, given the changes that have occurred over the years. You know, we don't have an office and a secretary and everybody else. A lot of this, the more formal operating boards have a luxury that we don't.
Yeah, and some of it's disappeared in the town
Archives?
archives, who knows where, and who's got the time to spend days looking through dusty file cabinets.
I haven't gone up and seen Lou, what he's been doing, but I know he's, compiled some stuff,
I've got some stuff Lou might like.
Okay, move along. Dick Yelke brought up this item, which has been crossing my mind. And for those of you who don't have an agenda or watching at home, down trees in the lake, initiate discussion for removal process. There are more and more of them.
2 right now,
Well, there's,
at least.
there's several others around too.
Okay.
I mean, some of them have been there for a long time,
Oh,
down.
the
nine-
very long times, yeah, down your
Well,
end.
not the ones 50 years, but there's been a couple, 4 years, 5 years anyway, but they're sticking way out in the basin.
Yeah.
And I had a brief discussion with our town administrator yesterday and said, coming to this meeting, how can we tackle this? Because technically the tree, it impacts our bailiwick the minute it falls in the lake. But it's on, most of them are,
Private property.
well, except for along the town beach, which is town's of Stow
Mhm.
anyway.
Mhm.
But he came up with a suggestion, which I think is worth pursuing. He said, because I was asking him, do we need to get legal counsel's advice as to what we could do and everything else? And he said, for the relatively small amount it would take to have, say, the highway department come in and tackle these things, it's basically getting the right size come-alongs on most trees and just lifting them up and chunking them off and dragging them out of the lake. Because at some point they do represent a safety hazard, particularly like the one on Barton Road.
By the
by
dam? Yep.
That's been there for over a year and a half.
Yep. And the new one just came down on the way to your house. In the backside of,
Yeah, it looked like somebody cut some of that.
Where was that? Which one?
what's the road that comes out to the
Hill-
point towards Hill
Hill
Road?
Road.
Yeah, off of Hill Road.
And there's another one was on Pine Point, way up by Parashos.
Oh,
That
that one I
broke
didn't,
off
I
there.
didn't notice that one. I was down there today too.
Yeah, and that was an uprooting and broke. But I think it's something we need to have some way of dealing with, rather than just say, gee, we don't know what to do about it, so
Yeah.
let it sit there forever.
So this was the town administrator or the
Yeah.
town manager that?
Well, he is the town, we don't have a manager, his title is town administrator. But I think what he's suggesting is if there is some small expense, maybe I can go around and start to take pictures or catalog how many trees there are right now, and say, okay, here's pictures of them, what would it take to get rid of these? Can you find the money in the budget to do it? We wait till next year. I think he was suggesting that if there was some minimal expense,
So why aren't they homeowners' responsibility?
because there's no law that says so.
Is there a law that says they're not?
Can you enlighten us on that?
My name is Elsie Rodney.
Yeah.
I live on Pine Point Road, and I'm possibly the said owner of one of those trees.
Yeah.
Although the fact is, it's not on my property, it's in the lake. It's so that, the tree died.
Where was the root of the tree
The
before it
root of the
fell?
tree is on
Your neighbors or yours?
my neighbors.
Okay.
However, the tree, I've talked to various people, and the tree sort of twisted and came over, mostly on my, not on my shoreline, but
In the waterfront,
in
yeah.
the water. And the tree guy came along and said, oh, that's up to the town. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, at the moment, we're paying somebody to kind of slowly haul it up. And it's like 3 major trunks. And anyway, the two of us, my neighbors and I, are working on paying for it. But and they're working on trying to get it up. It's no easy feat because it's really dug right into the lake. But you know.
Yeah. Well, I know in one instance, our late friend Alan Cattell, in the third, fourth basin narrows, had a pine tree 60, 70 feet tall, fell down, and it basically blocked the whole third basin narrows going into the boat launch area. and there was no legal requirement for him to do it, but he brought a crane in and lifted it out, and that's an expensive proposition.
Well, if the town would allow us to take the telephone wires and the electric wires down, we could bring a crane in, but there's.
Well, that gets into
no
Hudson
crane that
Light and Power.
No, it would take a crane that doesn't really exist, I think, to do our situation, so.
You can't get a machine to your shoreline? Yeah.
Chunk it up to a boat-size piece, drag it
That's
over
what they
to
were
the-
doing.
And
That's
put it
what
on
they were
a
doing.
trailer.
But getting it
and
out
put
of the young man is sawing in the water, getting the saw stuck half in the water, and amazing what they're trying to do, but no, there's no crane could really do it because of the
Yeah.
wires.
Well, unfortunately, if this solution works, I don't know as you could go back retroactively and reimburse you for it.
Reimbursed, I doubt it.
But this is just a subject that's been brought to our attention several times. It's time to,
I'm glad to hear you're talking about it.
yeah. Laura?
Laura Diamond, North Shore
Yeah.
Drive in Stow. I think it's a legal question as to who's responsible, because when, we had a tree fall from our property into the neighbor's home, not in the lake. And my insurance guys, and it did some damage to the neighbor's house. And my insurance guy said, it's a tree falling in the woods. So you're only responsible for what happened. Your homeowner's policy will not respond to that.
To the neighbor's damage.
Yes, and so I would believe that that would apply to the lake, that a homeowner's responsibility for removal, in that instance, wouldn't respond, and I don't believe that it would be the
Well-
homeowner's responsibility to pay for the tree in the lake.
Well.
But I'm not an attorney, but I think
I know,
it's-
but what we're talking about wouldn't get into that, hopefully. If the town is willing to, and he would have to work out something, if it's gonna be an increase for that purpose in the budget, he'd have to talk to Tom Moses and say,
But the town might not want to pay for that, and what I'm saying is, it's a legal question of whose responsibility it is to
oh,
pay for
okay,
the
all right.
tree.
I think we're on track with it, because,
So just an FYI, if you have a neighbor and they have a tree that's threatening your house, if you write a letter
Right,
and identify the threat, now it is their responsibility.
yes, and we got.
You learned that afterwards,
We
right?
determined that from the discussion about it, but yes,
okay, that goes beyond where we need to be tonight.
yes.
So one other comment, right? If we have a real winter and we have real ice, you cut them up and from the ice.
A lot of it you can do.
You cut it all up in the.
Water.
Well,
It's
how
under the
much-
water.
Yes, a lot under.
Is it under?
Even with
Oh, yeah.
lake
Yeah, a lot of them.
drawdown.
You're gonna
No,
have to draw it down a lot, but
no, because it drops off pretty steep down there
yeah, it's
on
very,
Pine Point,
it's down there.
yeah.
We'll work on that.
Okay, but at any rate, so I will pursue that with, some more with the town administrator, because it'll be coming up.
What about, on the second basin, there was a tree over on North Shore Drive that fell, and when I was a kid, and it lasted a long time as a tree stump on the side, and actually, in my opinion, acted as a nice barrier, a retaining wall, so to speak.
Broke up the
Would be a way
waves.
to. I'm sorry?
Yeah, broke off the waves.
Yeah, so is there a way? to-
Somebody trimmed off all the branches and just left the log sitting there.
Exactly.
Because that was in front of undeveloped property, that's why it stayed there.
Right.
It's still there now.
Yeah. That fell along.
Well, okay, one more comment, then we'll move on.
Elsie Rodney again, Pine Point. We did receive a notification from the Conservation Commission saying under no circumstances can you disturb the roots of the stump, so which we would never do anyway, but it's,
Well, that's a good point of reminder, because I think, did you get a mailing, did we all get a mailing from Concom talking about tree removal?
Yeah.
Because technically, anything within 100 feet of the waterfront, if you're gonna cut down trees, I'm not talking about falling down, but if you wanna cut down trees, you gotta talk to Conservation Commission people first. If it's a minimal number and farther away, they won't make you go through a lot of rigmarole. But they're very concerned about a few homeowners that have gone and just hired one of the major tree companies, which will go unnamed, and they just came in and cleared a lot, and I think we all know which one I'm talking about, and cut down every blinking tree on it in the space of a day before anybody realized what they were doing. Concom can institute some pretty heavy fines for doing that, so they are making a concerted effort to work with the tree companies in the area, saying it's not, you can't rely on the homeowner saying, oh yeah, I got a permit. Check with the town to make sure that there is a permit pulled. It's the homeowner's responsibility to get the permit, not the tree company. So it's a little glitch in what you would think is normal liability issues. But that should be noted also. Maybe we could ask when Dave Gray.
Well, they just send out, I mean,
Yeah.
how
Send
many
it
things are we
everywhere.
gonna send out?
Yeah, no, that's right, but, okay, as long as everybody got it.
Yeah.
Hudson, I don't know.
Hudson,
The Stow letter referenced, I believe this is the process in Hudson too, but it's the
it's
same
the
thing.
state process, it's not Stow or Hudson.
Yeah.
It's the
The Wetland Protection.
Wetland Protection Act.
Okay. All right, so I'll talk to the town administrator some more on that.
More on that, we can talk about it next time, because maybe there's a way we can get together and get some help together too.
Yeah, we've mentioned that on the Barton Road thing and it never materialized. That house has been sold, I believe, now, or it's for sale sometime. I think the new owner would want to get rid of it. Okay, I have given you each a copy of a letter that report that I received. Sorry, I just got it to you tonight. Update from Sergeant Saleese on boating activity, patrol activity for so far this season. I don't think there's anything that jumped out at me as needing immediate attention. I'll highlight a couple of things. From July 1 until September 11, when this letter was written, Officer Heron patrolled 72 and a half hours, including quite a bit of time on the Schultz fundraiser and Labor Day and the Water Carnival. Some violations that he stopped boats for have been boat speeding after dark, boat cited for speeding during quiet hours, which a ticket was issued and not contested. There was a report of a fire at the town beach, numerous floats and debris floating around the lake, which he has removed. He's assisted folks with broken down boats. He addresses the police boat issue, says that the canopy zipper is being assessed as to whether it's going to be replaced or not. The environmental police have been on patrol on the lake and at the access point of the boat launch in Fourth Basin. One example was they patrolled the lake on a Wednesday, August 23rd. They conducted 6 inspections that day, and resulting in a verbal warning for improper numbers and 1 citation, ticket, for no PFDs, insufficient navigation lights, and no registration and possession. So I think the word there is to our neighbors, it isn't just Lee Heron, what he's doing out there, but the state, in its exercise of diligence, will come out and be warned. Have all your equipment up to date, have your registration, everything, because you never know when somebody in one of those greenish shirts will pull up alongside you.
And they have
Greetings.
They have a little tiny boat.
And they don't even use a boat sometimes, they just sit down the Fourth Basin and check people going in. But since July, they've said, and this addresses that report system that Mike talked about earlier in the year, that is available, by the way, for anybody who wants to sign up for it, to get the expanded police report, which covers the entire town. But there were 9 complaints. This is telephone calls, which they urge you to do. If you see something, call. From July, it's 9 complaints. Speeding after dark, speeding during quiet hours, jet ski operating too close to shore, too close to shore with skier. Tuber, no observer. That was investigated, but it was reported that there was no observer, but when they actually checked it, there was an observer. Complaint about lifeguards, that was given to the rec department. Quiet hour complaints, large tree in Basin 2. And jet ski within 50 feet of shore. Officer Heron schedule will continue until October 9. And his weekend patrols will end at that point, but there will obviously still be ability to respond as long as our boat's in the water. So that's kind of a summary of what's there for the benefit of folks that are here. Any comments, questions about anything on that?
This is really helpful.
And I think if we do this, maybe one visit a year from him, as situations may develop, but I think this kind of thing, a couple of times a year, is a good way to be aware of what's going on. Plus, any of us can call Mike at any time if you have questions on particular issues. So I want to thank Mike for doing that for us. Drawdown prep. It's that time of year again, almost, isn't it? My gosh. October 1
Yep.
is when we start to pull the boards for the winter. We still call it drawdown, although drawdown in its original meaning has been very much changed.
Still a drawdown.
But drawdown for weed control, the mitigation, everything else. It's the winter drawdown is what we're talking about, really.
Correct.
And that's a maximum of 18 inches done in steps.
Starts on
October 1.
October 1 and should be completed by the end of October.
Yeah, they want so.
So ideally, you pull one board every other week.
Well, I'm not sure. We always talk about, it isn't necessarily 6-inch boards or something either.
Yeah, well, you
so.
pull a board, you let the lake get
Yeah.
down, and you pull the next one.
It's down some now anyway, there's no water going on.
It's about
the
3 inches
spillway.
down right now. No one is really recording those numbers anymore.
Right, well, I think David Gray was, but he's out.
He's out,
He said
but
he
I
was on
didn't see,
vacation.
I didn't see
He's
my,
out?
I
Well, he
didn't see,
said he's gonna be away.
Oh.
He sent a note to all of us.
yeah. We used to get those numbers almost daily.
I'm sure he has numbers.
Oh, I didn't know that, 'cause
Well, I think he's been checking levels. We can,
He
I
hasn't-
mean, that's why he reported to us that he wasn't gonna be around, is 'cause.
he hasn't been forwarding the reports to anybody?
So do we wanna ask?
Yes?
Yes, if he's doing it, you could just send him a note. Ask if he would forward the information to Concom, they're the ones that should keep it for their records. And even if it isn't sent on a weekly basis, if he keeps a report and does it a couple of times a year or once a month or something, as long as they have it, have the data.
Kathy likes to keep the data. She's got the long-term records and that was supplied to her by Teresa.
Yep. Okay.
So Kathy's got, I don't know, I think 3-4 years worth now.
Yep.
In terms of drawdown, you didn't mention a dam report, have we?
No, that's not, I didn't, as long as we're,
Well, let's finish drawdown.
yeah.
So on drawdown, we have to notify residents, correct?
I would have to go look at the orders and conditions, but no, I don't think we do.
I
I
think it
thought there was
does.
sandwich
I think it does.
boards or
Or
something
a
that
notice in
were
the
put out.
paper or something, I think there
Yeah,
was.
I'm pretty
I'd have to
sure
go read it.
Teresa had said we had to.
She did that process, she was really good at it,
Do you
and
have your orders and conditions filed? Did you get some stuff from her or not?
I don't have any of the order of condition
Okay.
files, no.
All right. I've got some.
I had conversation with her,
Yeah.
but I don't have,
Okay.
she wanted to turn all the files over to Connie, so.
So you have all of her
not yet,
records yet?
not yet.
So it'd be good just for our, so that we can reference
Well,
whatever
you need,
might be.
yeah, you should get copies of the orders and conditions. I have them, Kathy has them, and I'm sure they're in Teresa's records as well.
Okay, so if you, maybe you can,
Yeah, I just made a note. I was
Okay.
gonna bring them tonight and I forgot. So actually, I gotta get copies of,
all right, I will contact Mike
I
Clayton.
believe there's an electronic copy of those. I'm almost sure.
Ask him to put it on his work schedule for October 1.
Mike
And that's
is,
highway department?
Yeah,
yeah, Mike's really good. He does it just instantly
Yeah.
when you ask him to.
yeah.
We've always done that with email with him, send him an email.
So,
So the process we've done on pulling the boards has always been that one of us would generate an email, please pull a board, and we'd copy Kathy, we'd copy Mike, and everybody was in agreement, and Mike pulls the board.
As keeper of the records, do you have his, you can contact his email, by email, do you want to do that, or do you want me to do it?
well, first of all, we have to, we,
Well, we need to get the date to him, we can do that now, and then between
Oh,
now,
right.
we'll figure out how we do the notice.
okay.
Once we get
So I
to-
think what Teresa had said before was she was authorized to tell them,
That's what I'm saying.
so,
So Teresa was the commissioner in charge of Drawdown, and rather than have to debate it every time, since it was codified, she just made it happen. And
Right.
we basically said, that's your responsibility, you do it.
Unless there are extenuating circumstances, like last year we had the drought.
Yeah, we didn't,
That we changed things. for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, we did not, we didn't do Drawdown as far last winter because we were afraid of refill.
Okay. Well, unless I hear somebody really wanting to do it, I'll do it.
I will see if I can get, I think I have an electronic copy of the orders conditions. If I do,
Yeah.
I'll mail it to you.
Okay. But I'll take care of getting the notice posted by whatever means we're required to do it.
I think all we did was the sandwich boards. I don't think we did more than that after. I don't remember, Dawn. She was so good at it, was really,
Okay. All right.
she and Kathy worked together on it. So you might want to talk about Kathy, Sarah. Kathy wants to be in the approval cycle.
Yeah,
So-
I'll talk to her. I'm around here, so I'll talk to her. Okay. Prep for end of season tasks, boat buoys, other. When you normally take the boat at the end of October?
Well, yeah, end of October, beginning of November. So in years past, we've kept it in as long as we could because it was the only rescue boat we
Yeah.
had, or the only enforcement boat we had. So I would typically watch the weather, and when the weather goes south, we pull the boat.
Hmm.
And I've got to check on it, but I believe I can put it back to the Town of Hudson
The old
Storage
fire
Force.
station again?
I hope to.
Yeah.
But we should also send it up to Cabela's and have them winterize it. So in terms of the boat, if Hudson will store it, good. If they can't store it, then we should have it shrink wrapped.
Wow,
And Cabela's does all that.
that's a significant expense, so it's,
Yeah, but
hopefully
yes, it
we'll
is.
find someplace to put it.
Um,
Because we're having some storage now in the old fire station over here as well, but,
I don't care where it goes, but if I can put it under cover, it's
Yeah.
really safer.
so if you would
I'll check with the Hudson Fire.
let me know whether or not they can do it.
Okay.
And
It's
if
funny, 'cause
not,
I was-
then-
I went by there today and noticed it's empty,
Yeah,
so I'll call Steve and ask him.
okay.
okay, and obviously before that happens, you
Pull the buoys
pull
out of the
all
water.
buoys, right? And is there any activity really, like, do we assess the buoys, whether we're gonna need to replace them next year or whatever, does that
form.
just happen after?
Just happens, nothing formal. You pull the buoys out of the water, if they're in good shape, you use them. If they're not in good shape, you buy a new one.
They seem to have survived better. Some years they're half sunk by this time of year.
These are a different type of buoy.
Yeah.
So I've switched the type of buoy I've been using for quite a while now. And I basically got rid of all the old junky ones.
Okay.
And so there's 4 good ones in the lake right now that we own. Maybe it's 5 that we own. So yeah. And the biggest thing is I replace the chains pretty regularly because they rust.
Yeah, 'cause it's not, you don't use real heavy chain on them anyway.
Yeah, I use 3/8 galvanized chain. Which is fine.
But that would be an expense you'd do
Yeah.
it for next boating season.
Well, it'd be
The beginning of
this
the
year's
season.
budget, but next year's
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
But we budgeted, the money's been budgeted for all that, it's in the budget. I'm gonna be gone for the next 2 weeks, so when I return, we'll kind of assess the weather, but probably pull the buoys out of the water first or second week in October. Sometimes I get them out sooner, but first or second week in October.
Okay. Nothing else on that one, I guess. I just threw in old business in case there was any other action item that,
And let me just finish the other thing,
Oh, sorry.
just for you, because, for both of you, we don't use cement blocks anymore. I was at a yard sale, and the
Oh,
guy
yeah,
was
you
selling his set of weights.
Oh, you didn't mention that.
So we had these nice iron discs, which are much easier to deal with. In case someone else ends up pulling the buoys out, that's what you're gonna find at the other end of the chain.
so there's different weights on each one of them?
Nope, they're all the same, they're all 35-pound weights.
Okay.
They sink in the mud and they don't move.
Yeah, I can imagine. You have trouble getting them out?
No, not really. What you do is you hook the boat to it and
Yeah,
drag it.
drag it along.
And then you pull it
Suck it
out.
out of the mud, yeah. Anything on old business that might have slipped anybody's mind?
See, there was just so of our open action items. You were following up with Kathy Sparrow via
Yeah.
orders of conditions.
So the old business that's not here is the superseding order of conditions with the state.
Yes.
What's the status on that? I gave you guys the contact.
Yes, and I was unable to make that connection. I'm going to keep working on it.
Okay.
The name was in there, Denise, somebody or other.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
But those have to be fixed before next season. We're good until November. In November, the superseding order conditions expire.
Okay. Anybody have anything at this point for our next meeting? That, well, something we maybe should have brought up for tonight, but didn't, not to discuss it, but just to put it on the list.
No, and if,
As I said, I'd like to, that gets into the next item anyway, the day of the next meeting, if we're gonna run together. So
Right.
I'd like to, you're back early October?
yes. I'm only gone for 2
Like
weeks.
a Wednesday night, month from now, about that middle of October? Would that work?
One second. Yes, it sounds like it works, but if I can get my phone to cooperate.
I don't know why nobody meets Wednesdays. You know, Ernie? The place is packed on Tuesdays.
We did for a while,
Planning board did?
for about a year or two.
Was that just convenience
It
of
depends.
members and,
It's for members.
yeah.
What time, about the 18th of October, or the 11th of October, 18th of October? Either the 18th or the 25th, either one is good.
Yeah, I'm around on both.
I'm sorry?
I'm around for both. Yep.
All right, let's just put a tentative hold on it, and I'll check my calendar at home.
Okay.
On both or either?
Just hold them for now, and
Yeah,
I'll let you
18th
know.
and 25th.
One or
Okay.
the other, yes.
Okay.
And when you do requests for agenda items, if anything comes up between now and then, we can send them to you.
Yes, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
well, at any time, even
Yep.
if you think of something tomorrow that you didn't
Yep.
bring up tonight, just, I'll make a note of it.
No, I think we're pretty good. Andy, when does, we got one more year on the contract?
Hmm?
So we got one more season, then we're gonna have to
And
renegotiate
at the
that
same cost, it's 14,
for,
14,625,
yeah, for
something like that.
for FY '19.
And we get,
18.
when do we get the report? Is it the end of this season? In the fall sometime we get a report on what they did in
At the end of the year, after,
the calendar year or the,
well, after the last,
Treatment,
after the
Or-
last,
Bill.
well, they don't necessarily, after the last visit. You get the November bill, and then sometime November, December, you get a report.
okay. So that's good. So we can have that to make sure that we have it in hand just for, when we're putting our budget numbers together. In case, somebody says,
Yeah, so just so you all know, is that the contract year for Solitude is staggered across 2 FIS years for the towns. So that's how we got in trouble in Hudson for a while, where we had some crazy budget numbers because it was all screwed up. It's all fixed now in both towns, so we have to have, for next spring's treatment, we have to have that warrant money in place now,
Mhm.
which we do
Yep.
in both towns. So next spring's town meetings, we'll have to have the warrant money for the following year on them.
Mhm. No, but
It's going to be a new contract.
Will that be a new contract then?
so if this, if we're-
2018 is the last year of treatment, last
is
year of
next
the
summer.
contract.
Yeah,
So if you're talking about
Yeah,
money that's going to be for 2019, it's going to
Yeah.
have to be
so
in
it'll
the
have to be
contract.
renegotiated at the end of, during during 2018. What, 19?
You have to do that before the town meeting.
Yeah, but the money is, you're saying,
Yeah, well,
It's in the
yes, the
spring.
money, but I'm talking about the actual con.
yeah, we need to have a number in place
But you have to
for
have
the
a
town
number in
meetings
place.
next
Yeah.
spring
yeah,
because
You
of
don't have to have a contract,
the
you have to
long
have the number.
planning period.
right.
So we'll have to work on requesting, there's
That's
only
what we
one
did last
company
time, was
now,
get
there's
a
no one else to
budgetary
deal
number.
with.
Yeah.
So, if you could talk to them about either extending that contract or whatever. Wonder if we could get, maybe they might be willing to extend the contract now at a good number. They don't have to treat much anymore.
They won't know what the treatment's going to be in 2019.
Yeah.
Good try. Okay, that, I think we've addressed all of our agenda items.
Motion to adjourn?
Non-debatable. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Saying
Aye.
aye. Thank you. Thanks, folks.